If you struggle with binge eating and you are trying to stop, you have come to the right place. Now, if you have not already, be sure and subscribe to the channel. That way you get notified every time I have another video come out. But if you're new around here, my name is Jared Hamilton, and basically I help people lose weight and sustainably change their life in ways that aren't really that big of a deal, but more than anything, really help people do what I call a diet from the inside out and fix the issues and solve the problems that are really deep and at a foundational level that are stopping you from losing the weight, feeling amazing, and living your best life. I don't want to take too much of your time, so let's get right into binge eating. My approach to binge eating is a little bit unorthodox. I'm just not a fan of telling you to work harder, to be more disciplined, to white knuckle it more. That's just not my cup of tea, and it's not really helpful. Instead of having to fight the urge to binge, I would rather show you why the binge eating is coming up, so then we can deploy the actions to stop it at the root cause of it, so the desire just goes away. In my experience coaching people over the last decade, there are 4 reasons specifically for binge eating. Number 1 is based in hunger. Number 2, it's based in restriction. Number 3, it's emotionally driven. And number 4, it's based in your identity. So let's get into each of these. Number 1, it's based in hunger. Too often, if you really struggle with binge eating, you just let your hunger get too out of control. This is why you shouldn't be having mostly snacks or grazing all day, because that never actually satisfies you. This is why you shouldn't be banking your calories for date night or for later, or trying to eat as little as possible, because you're gonna end up getting ravenous and just say fuck it and then binge eat. This is also why you shouldn't be in what I call a race to the bottom, where you're trying to eat as little as possible to lose weight and seeing how much you can starve yourself. That's not how we do this here. This is why fixing number 1 is pretty simple. If we don't let our hunger get too high, then the binge stops on its own. All right, let's talk about number 2. It's based in restriction. Now, this style of binge eating is where you don't just binge on anything, you only binge eat on the foods that you restrict and get rid of. This almost leads to an almost Last Supper mentality, where you get rid of, let's say, pizza, for example, but then you've restricted, but then you finally have pizza, you feel like you fucked up. So in your head you go, you know what? I don't know when the next time I'm gonna have pizza is. Fuck it, I'm just gonna eat as much as I can because I don't know when I'm gonna have it again. Then you binge on the pizza. But I don't want you to just white knuckle through the desire for pizza. I want you to stop restricting the pizza. Because the thing is, when it comes to restrictive based binge eating, if we stop the restriction, we stop the binge, which is pretty dope. So here's how we fix the restrictive based binge eating. If we stop the restriction, we'll stop the binge. Now, if you're saying, Jared, I don't know how to not restrict, I don't know how to eat just a little bit of chips without binging on the whole bag, or I don't know how to have just one candy bar, let me know in the comments below. And if enough of you want to see it, I'll make a video on what I call my gas station method that we teach clients on how to retrain your brain to not go batshit crazy on all the foods in front of you. But otherwise, simply put, if we stop the restriction, we stop the binge. It's that simple. So I would suggest eating your favorite foods very frequently every day and stop waiting until you get to a 10 out of a 10 craving for the candy bar, the chips, or the cookies, or whatever it is. My rule of thumb is eat what you crave. Just don't eat it like an asshole. Reason number 3 for binge eating, it's emotionally driven. This is otherwise labeled as things like stress eating, anxious eating, or just emotional eating in general. Without getting too deep into this, emotional eating is essentially us hiding or suppressing our emotions with food. We had a bad day at work, we don't want to feel the sadness or the anxiety or the overwhelm, so we go to the pantry, we go get ice cream, and we have about 5 minutes of dopamine and then feel better for like 5 minutes, then it comes back and then we're back to square one. Here's the problem with emotional eating. We're emotional creatures, so if you don't have a way to handle your emotions separately from food, you will never get on the other side of this. Now, if you're not quite sure how to separate your emotions from food, tell me in the comments below and I can make another video, if enough of you want it, showing you how we teach clients to separate their emotions from food. But this is why we have to allow ourselves to feel our emotions. All emotions are meant to be felt, even the bad ones. It goes back to that old saying, feeling is healing. You're supposed to feel your anxiety. You're supposed to feel your sadness. You're supposed to feel your overwhelm. If we keep running from it, it'll continue to chase us. This is why we have to separate our emotions from food and allow ourselves to process them in a very therapeutic-like way. Like I said, if you're not sure how to do that, comment below and I'll make another video on it if enough of you want to see it. And last one, number 4, identity. Hear me when I say this. If your identity is made up of things that you don't like about yourself that you're trying to change, your identity will always pull you back. You have to understand that we always sabotage to our identity. Ed Milet was the first one that I ever heard talk about identity like this, where it's like the thermostat on a wall. If your thermostat is set at 70 degrees and the house heats up to 80, the thermostat will kick on and cool the room back off. So if mentally your identity is a 70 and your results, your environment heats up to an 80, your identity will kick on and cool your results back off to square one. So what this looks like inside binge eating is if your identity is I'm a binger, it's not just something you did, it's who you are. You're a binger. And you go 2 or 3 weeks without binge eating, your identity is going to turn on and cause you to binge eat again. Your identity is going to go, oh, nope, this is not where we're supposed to be, and you will find a reason to cool your environment back off to I'm a binger and binge eat again. So we have to remove binger from our identity. You have to understand, binge eating or binge ate is a verb. It's just something you did. Just because you're struggling doesn't mean it's who you are. A binger is a noun. It's who you are. But you did not come out of the womb being a binger. You picked up the habit of binge eating or the struggle of binge eating a long time ago, but that does not mean it's part of who you are and your identity and your character. So we have to separate binger and remove it from your identity. Now, if you have no idea how to do that, comment below. And if enough of you want to see it, I'll make another video talking about how to separate binger from your identity. And that is it. That is the 4 reasons for binge eating and how to stop each of them. Now, if you like this video, show me some love down below and either give this video a like, be sure you're subscribed, or leave me a comment below on what you found most helpful with this or what resonated most. Now, if you really like this kind of content and this was really helpful, I actually do much bigger and deeper trainings on things just like this inside a private Facebook group that I run called Fat Loss Simplified. I'll leave a link below. That way you can add yourself and I'll make sure you get accepted. And we do trainings like this on binge eating, on weight loss, on nutrition, on your headspace, on your inner game, on how to never struggle ever again in your weight loss, and all of these kind of things every single week in that group. I cannot wait to see you inside. I'll leave that link below and I will talk to you next time.